things. And so it's all in the attitude that we have when we approach this. And so as we go into this season, we need to have the same excitement and the anticipation of the holiday season like we always have. That's really what it's all about. And so
Oh, I
instead of focusing on what we can't do, we want to focus on the things that we can do and how we can do things a little bit differently and still have the joy, but keep it safe. So the second thing that we want to keep in mind is that really through all of this pandemic, it has made us focus on family a little bit more, I think. A lot of us are spending a lot more time together within our own households. And so, and then with those of us that have people in other households, we're finding different ways to connect that we can use. Technology has allowed us to stay in touch, and sometimes we are able to visit with others in an outdoor environment or in an environment where maybe we can see each other, but we're not in close contact. We're at least 6 feet apart. And so our focus needs to be on family, and it needs to be on friends and connecting, but doing that in a safe way. We want to protect both ourselves from getting sick as well as others around us. And so, what we choose to do throughout this season really has to be guided by a balance of celebration, but doing that in a safe manner to protect those that we love. We don't want to get sick, and we certainly don't want to make others sick. And if we have other people in our families or in our friend group that are vulnerable, that have health issues, we need to be careful to protect them. And so, it might not look the same this year, but it's to protect those people. So the guidelines that we're going to give today are from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. And at the end of the slideshow, we will have a slide that will give you a website that gives a lot of further information about these topics. And also on the retreat website, where all the materials are, all the handouts and that kind of thing, there are some handouts for this session. And so we encourage you to take a look at those. You can print those out if you need to. You can share those with other family members. A lot of this is involving discussion of the rest of your family when you're going to plan things and how you're going to celebrate it. It involves a lot of communication, and so sometimes it's helpful to have information that you can share with them as well. So every person and their individual health needs are different, and so every family situation is different. So these are guidelines for higher risk and lower risk actions, but it's up to each individual and your circumstances as to how you are going to celebrate this year. We also want to remind you these are guidelines from a national perspective. And so if there are local regulations in your area, such as mask mandates or that kind of thing, we certainly want you to follow those. So pay attention to your local news, to your local outlets so that you know what is required in your particular area. So the way that we're going to do this is we are going to look at some scenarios, and we to play high risk, low risk. So we'll present a situation, and then we're going to let you kind of vote on whether you think it's high risk or low risk. So the way that we'll do this, down at the bottom of your screen, there is a little round icon that says reactions. And so if you click on that, it will give you several choices, but one of those is a thumbs up symbol. So if you click on that, it will show up on your square on the screen. So let's test it right now. I want everybody to go down to the little reactions icon at the bottom of your screen, and I want you to hit the thumbs up. All right, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. Okay, our thumbs up is going to be a vote that the scenario is a high risk scenario. So your thumbs up will automatically go off. So once you hit it, it'll stay up for 30 seconds or whatever, and then it'll go off. So you don't have to do anything after that. If you think that the scenario is low risk, we don't have a thumbs down. So just leave it blank. But if you think it's high risk, go ahead and put a thumbs up, meaning it's a high risk situation. So after we vote, then we will give you the answer, and then we're going to give you some suggestions on lowering your risk. And we're going to talk about 4 different areas today. So we're going to talk about travel, we're going to talk about meals and dining, we're going to talk about shopping, and then we're going to talk about events and holiday events. So to get us started, I am going to turn it over to Paula, and she is going to do the first 2 sections of this.
Right. For holiday travel, we know that it's the holiday season just right around the corner, and I'm not sure if you're like me or not, but starting to think about what are we doing to celebrate with our families, because like Whitney said, we really want to try to do what we are used to doing, but we need to be safer and take into consideration those people, our loved ones who have maybe some chronic conditions that may pose a bigger threat for them. So if you will go ahead, there we go. Thank you. For our first one, is it high risk or low risk? Tina Traveler and her family are preparing for their yearly road trip across a couple of states to visit their elderly parents for the holiday season. Tina's brother, Tommy Traveler, and his family will be flying in from New York City. Everyone will be staying at the parents' home for 3 days. Okay. So if this is high risk, if you will, give us a thumbs up. If it is a low risk, just leave it blank. All right, I'm seeing several thumbs up, and you are correct. It is a high risk situation. So some things that make it high risk is that they are traveling in from several different states, going in to visit with their parents. They're staying with their elderly parents. And also New York City, that brother's coming in from there. And we know that at the beginning of all of this, that was one of the big hotspots for COVID-19. And now it seems like there's hotspots everywhere. So we just need to care for our elderly parents, care for ourselves, care for our loved ones that live in the home with us. So some lower risk alternatives that we need to consider. One is we can stay at home. That is the best thing that we can do right now. I know it's difficult. We really, again, we want to do those things with our families, but maybe we can start some new traditions and, just celebrate it with the family that's within our household. If you do travel, of course, CDC strongly recommends wearing a mask when you're out. And again, if your area that you're in requires the mask, then that is something that you need to consider as well. But before you even travel, you need to consider, where am I going? Is this high risk? Is this area that I'm traveling to? Is it somewhere that, look at the numbers, we can see the statistics daily of the places that, the potential place that we're going to go visit. Also, do you live with someone who is high risk for COVID-19? And in our scenario, we're going in to our parents' home. So they are potentially high risk for COVID-19 as well. Also, you need to check as you're planning your travel, check the destination that you're going to. What are their mandates? What are their recommendations on mask and so forth? But again, if you are traveling, make sure that you are wearing the mask. And whenever you do wear the mask, that you've got it covered with your mouth and your nose are both covered. You are avoiding close contact by staying at least 6 feet apart from anyone who is not in your household. And We all know this. We should have been doing this a long time before COVID-19, but washing our hands often, using hand sanitizer if soap and water is not available. Avoid close contact with anyone who is sick. Again, this is something that we should have been practicing a long time ago. If we are sick, we should stay home. And I know this one can be difficult, especially for younger children, but keep your hands away from your eyes, your nose, your mouth, because we're spreading germs into our bodies whenever we do that. Also, the consideration for the types of travel. For our scenario, there was one flying in. So if you're having to travel by plane, that requires a time in security checkout line or check-in lines in the terminals. So you're putting yourself at risk for being close to others who could be carrying the COVID-19. According to the CDC, it says most viruses and other germs do not spread easily on flights due to how air circulates within that airplane. And for the car, you have to consider the stops that you're having to make, your gas stops, the stops in to get food. So you need to consider all of those whenever you are planning that trip. And again, for another lower risk alternative, if you were to visit with someone or if someone was coming into your home, try to plan activities that are outside. I know this time of year it might not be feasible with the weather. It's kind of hard to determine what the weather is going to be like during the holidays. But if it is possible, it's better to have it outside because we can space ourselves out much easier than within a home. All right. Dinners and parties. That is our second one. And our scenario for this one is it high or low risk? Denise Dressing will have Thanksgiving dinner at her house. All of the extended family, which is 25 plus members, will be there. Denise is providing the turkey and the dressing. All others will be bringing the side dishes. As everyone arrives, they place their prepared dishes on Denise's large kitchen table. When it is time to eat, everyone gathers around the table to fill their plates with all of the delicious food. So if you will, give us a thumbs up if it's high risk or leave it blank if it's low. Okay, I'm seeing a few thumbs up and you are correct. This one is a high risk activity. Some things that make this one particular scenario a high risk, and there's several. One is a potluck, and two, it's served buffet style. And then it is, of course, since it's buffet style, it is self-service. And it didn't even mention washing our hands. So all of those things make it a high risk scenario. But as far as general principles, I'm going to go back to that, give some general principles for that low risk, or excuse me, that high risk. You want to try to socially distance your family members, even though they are your family members. You want to socially distance them as much as possible. Limit contact with commonly touched surfaces. So it may be better. Go ahead, because that's some of my, go ahead and change it to the low risk, because that goes along with some of the things that I'm talking about. Assign someone to serve the food and drinks. That way, as you're serving, then you're not having so many people touch these serving utensils. Just so assign someone to serve the food and drinks. Use single serve items if possible. So you could even put it into small containers. That way you could just hand them off and go with it. That way we're not having to, like, say some sort of dressings. If you were having a salad and you needed a dressing, then you could put some dressing out into a small cup. Allow for a few in the service line at a time. So have a few go through and get their plate. And then once they get it, then go back. And then another thing is to ask each family to bring their own food and drink. And to me, that's a little different because we're so used to sharing, because we know food is, you know, bringing it together, sharing it with everyone. But it is recommended that each family member to bring their own food and drink. But before we even prepare this food or serve this food, we need to consider preparing it. You want to make sure that as you're preparing and even serving it, you want to wear mask and gloves during this time. That way you are limiting spread of any sort of germs. You are not contaminating any of the food that is being served to others. Also, if you are using tablecloths with your food, with your dinner party, you want to make sure that you clean them as soon as possible. And as far as food and your food choices, it's always good to make some healthier food options available. That way, we are helping our immune system rather than, we're trying to keep ourselves healthy as much as possible. So consider some healthier options whenever you're preparing that dinner. And the last thing that I have is gather virtually, just as we are today. I know that for our family, it might be difficult, especially if we do have uh, people that doesn't have a computer or maybe can't work it effectively. It might be difficult, but that is a possibility. Gather virtually. That way you can be in the comfort of your own home with all of your immediate family members, and um, you can still see your extended family. And I do want to mention those handouts again that Whitney mentioned at the beginning. Uh, One is called Load Up Your Digital Grocery Cart. And this was written by Dr. Kristen Johnson. She is one of our specialists. And this gives some really good information to think about even before we or as we are planning what we're going to serve to our family members. Talks about utilizing that online shopping. And then the last one that we have is the holidays and COVID-19. It's some frequently asked questions. This is a um, handout that was prepared for to use the agents to share with you all as well. So those things are on that website that Whitney spoke about. Are there any questions? Do we ask questions now or anything about the two that I had? Again, these are all CDC recommendations. Good things to think about as you are starting to plan for your family events. Okay, Whitney, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. So the next topic that we're going to talk about is shopping and gift giving. This is a big part of the holidays, and so this is going to look a little bit different this year as well. So here is our scenario. Greta, gift giver, loves holiday shopping. She has several grandchildren and she enjoys picking out just the right gift for each one. She always goes out on Black Friday after Thanksgiving to go to store to pick out her gifts. This year, her sister from out of state is coming for Thanksgiving dinner, and Greta plans to ride with her to go to the department store to hit the holiday sale on Thanksgiving night. This way, she will only have to go into one store on one day, and both she and her sister will wear masks to protect themselves. So is this a high risk or is this a low risk? If you think this is a high risk situation, put your thumbs up on your screen. Okay, we have several that have put their thumbs up that think this is a high risk situation. And you are correct. This is a high risk situation. So let's talk about this a little bit. So, um, first of all, she's in close contact with someone outside her household. And so, by going shopping with her sister, who is from out of state, being in that enclosed environment in the car puts her at a higher risk. They are also shopping in person and they're shopping at a time that will have higher crowds. And even though they're wearing masks, it's really going to be hard to social distance with everybody out on Thanksgiving night or on Black Friday the next morning. Stores are really crowded in normal circumstances during those particular times. And so it's going to be really hard to stay 6 feet apart. Holiday gift giving is a special part of celebrations. Because it's important, we need to think ahead about how we plan to shop and still have the joy of giving, but do it with less risk of being exposed to the virus. So, shopping in groups with others outside your household, that's a riskier action because you'll be in closer contact, especially while traveling with them. Shopping at peak times when stores will be crowded puts you in contact with more people and it makes it harder to social distance. Having more people that handle the more merchandise in the store. If you're shopping at a crowded time, there's going to be lots of people touching things and it may get on your hands and transfer to your nose or your mouth or your eyes and into your body that way. Also, having to stand in long lines, that also puts you at higher risk. And we all know that on Black Friday and right after Thanksgiving, Black Friday has really started on Thanksgiving night now. And so, those are just really crowded times and there are very long lines that you have to spend time in. And because there are so many people, you spend more time at the store. So you're standing in long lines. So you're not just running in and running out. You're going to be in there for a while. And the general recommendation is that you not be in close contact more than 10 minutes with anybody. And so it's going to be hard to do that if there are a lot of people shopping. Having to deliver packages or mail them at shipping stores or the post office also puts you at a higher risk as well. If you are shopping in person, remember to wear a mask, use hand sanitizer each time you leave a store, wash your hands really well when you return home. And also, paying with a credit or debit card reduces the transfer of touched items. So, generally, with those, you can only touch your own card with the card readers. And so, you're not transferring cash back and forth, which will also put you at a higher risk. So, high risk actions: shopping in a crowded store, shopping on a sale day when you're going to have larger crowds. That's going to just encourage people to be at that store, standing in the lines, handling items, and then delivering gifts directly. So if you are wrapping packages and taking them directly to somebody else, that puts you in direct contact with them. So how can we do this a little bit differently? And so there are some options that we have for shopping. So one of the first options is to shop online. This is probably the best option out of them as far as safety goes, and probably the lowest risk. So online shopping has gotten really popular since the pandemic. It was growing to begin with, and then when the pandemic hit, a lot of people started shopping online more. So if you have internet connection, that is a great option. The other really good thing about shopping online, first of all, you don't have to go to the store, and so you're not in contact with people that way. But also, you can have that gift directly delivered to your recipient. And so you're not having to make a separate trip to go into the post office or a shipping store in order to ship that. You're not out shopping for wrapping paper and taking it to your house, wrapping it, and then taking it out to a shipping place. So this really is the very best option to use if you can. Curbside pickup is also another option. And so this is where you order it. You can order it online or you can phone it in and tell them what you want. And then they load it into your trunk and you pull up in your car. They put it in your trunk or your back seat and you say in the safety of your own vehicle. This is a great option. This is another option that started really the grocery shopping this way started a couple years ago. And so it has grown and really become popular during the pandemic. So a lot of people use this to shop for groceries, but you can use it for other items as well. So a lot of the big chain stores have online ordering options, and then you just pull up you go into their app or call them, tell them what spot you're in, and then they bring it out. And that's a really handy way to do that. This is also a really good way to support local businesses. A lot of times, people say, oh, I don't want to shop online and all of that because I want to support our local businesses. And local businesses are having a really hard time right now. And so we do want to support those as much as we can. And so one way that we can do that is to phone them if they don't have an online ordering option. You can phone in your order, and most places will bring it out and deliver it curbside to you. So that's a great way to do that. If you do order it online, or if you phone it in using your credit card so that you don't have to exchange cash. So really, you don't have much contact at the curbside. You open up your trunk or they open it for you and put your items in and close it up, and you really don't have to have any contact at all directly with them. So that's a really safe way and a good way to support our local businesses. Gift cards or gift certificates are also a great option during this time. A lot of these you can order online. Or you can get them through curbside pickup. So if you have a local business and you're not able to go in or don't want to go in and actually physically pick the things out in person, a gift card from that local business is a really good way to go. These can also be mailed from your own mailbox or from your car instead of having to take a package or something like that into a shipping center. So gift cards are actually a really good option this year. I know some people don't like to use gift cards. They like to pick out an actual gift. But during these times, that may be a better option for this year in particular. So if you must shop in person, there are some things that you can do to reduce your risk there. And so, first of all, utilize off hours. So you want to use non-holiday days. So shopping on Black Friday is going to be a really busy day. So you probably don't want to do that, but shop at those non-peak hours. A lot of businesses are offering special hours for those that are particularly vulnerable. It could be for older audiences, or it could be for anyone that has some kind of a health issue that would put them into a higher risk. And so it's really good to take advantage of those. The stores are generally less crowded at that time. So that's a good option. I also find it's when I'm shopping for groceries in particular, shopping early in the morning when they first open is a good option. A lot of times when I'm doing cooking classes or testing recipes, I'll stop at the grocery store on my way in. So it'll be 7:30 or 8 o'clock um, at the um, at the store. And so it will decrease risk. It's a lot less busy in the morning. So if you can use those early morning hours or non-peak hours, that would be really good. Okay, and when delivering your gifts to other households, um, place the gifts on the porch and back away at least 6 feet. Or if you know that there is COVID in that household, then please make sure that you set the items down and walk away. So you don't want to hand deliver a gift to someone outside your household and be in direct contact with them. So no contact delivery of gifts is a good way to do that. And a great way to do that is to put things on the porch, walk away, call them, say, hey, I just left something on your porch. Why don't you come out and get it? I'm back in my car. So that's a great option as well. All right, so that is shopping and gift giving. The last topic that we're going to cover today is holiday activities. And so our scenario for holiday activities is Activity Annie has always had a jam-packed holiday calendar filled with all kinds of fun activities. She likes to get several families from her neighborhood to pile into a van and go set up their chairs to watch the holiday parade. They let the kids catch the candy thrown from the floats. They walk up and down the route and buy bags of popcorn from the vendors. This year, Annie is going to let each household group take their own car and find a parking space along the parade route. They will stay in their vehicles to watch from the car and munch on their own popcorn made at home. Annie will have a bag of candy for each vehicle to share. They will use their cell phones to talk to the other vehicles and to play Christmas music while they watch the parade. So is this a high risk or a low risk? If it's high risk, put a thumbs up in your box, and if it's not, just leave it blank. All right, I see no thumbs up, so that is good. This is actually a low risk activity. So everyone stays in their own vehicle with only members from their own household. They still have fun eating popcorn and candy and get to see the parade, but don't have contact with a large crowd. So there are many holiday activities that make the season fun, but picking which activities and how you will attend them can increase or decrease your risk of contacting the virus. So we want to be careful about what events we choose to participate in. And for those events that we are going to participate in, we need to know what the risks are. So crowded, close contact events put attendees at a higher risk. Indoor activities are a higher risk than an outdoor activity. However, even outdoor activities that are crowded can pose a risk. So if you have a fun run or something like that, and they don't socially distance the participants, that can, even though it's outside, it can be a high risk if you're in close contact. So you want things to be spread out. So for a lot of these, you want to find out what the event planners are doing to help protect people, how the event is going to be run, and whether there's going to be social distancing. You want to check all of that out before you go. So high risk actions, participating in crowded indoor events. So things like concerts or things like that, where there's a lot of people in a small space, that's going to be a higher risk event. So if it's spread out and you can have 6 feet of distance in between people, then that's okay. But if it's going to be a crowded indoor event, you want to think twice about that. Celebrations or things that include singing, chanting, or yelling. The CDC recommends that we don't do those, that we don't participate in those events because it forces particles further when you're speaking. When you're speaking, they don't go as far as when you're singing or shouting or yelling. And so it can spread easier when you're doing those things. So if, for example, you're attending a concert, you might want to attend one where only the people on stage are performing music, where not everybody is singing in the crowd, would be a lower risk option for that. Participating or watching outdoor events without social distancing. So if you have a crowded race or a crowded parade, you would not necessarily want to participate in that. But if you have a parade and you can stay in your own car, or you are spread out down the street and you are 6 feet apart, if each car is 6 feet apart and you're sitting on the tailgate of your car, that's a much safer environment. And then high risk, also attending events that have lots of alcohol involved that can impair judgment. And so we want to avoid that. as people drink more, they lose their inhibitions and are not as careful about keeping distance and that kind of thing. So what are some lower risk alternatives? So one lower risk alternative is attending virtual events from home. And that's actually probably one of the best options. As we've said several times, it does change the way that we do things. And so, it's a different way of doing things, but it is the safest way of doing that. Attending outdoor events with social distancing, where they use masks and sanitizer, that's a safer option. So if you can attend something like a live nativity or an outdoor tree display, those are fun events where you can socially distance, where you are outside, and it makes it much safer. Other ideas, pumpkin patches or orchards where sanitizers and masks and social distancing is enforced. Those are also good options for the fall, for Thanksgiving, to do those kinds of activities. Farm visits are a good thing to do where you can space out a little bit more. Another lower risk alternative is doing things with your own household. So having a concert within your own household, sing along within your own household, game or movie night. These are all activities that you can do as a family. And I think that is definitely one of the benefits actually of this whole pandemic, is that we are able to spend more time with the people in our own household. And so make it fun and think of some things that you can do within your own household and still enjoy the holiday spirit and the holiday movies and the holiday songs, but doing that within your own household rather than going to a big crowded venue. Attending drive-through or drive-in events is also a great option. So I know some churches have been doing drive-in type of services, and so there may be some changes in holiday activities this year where they offer drive-in or drive-through types of options. I always think of the light displays and going around through the lights in your own car. That's a great entertainment and holiday event that doesn't involve any risk, as long as you're with the same people in your household that are in the car. So if you are attending an indoor event, choose ones that are socially distanced. Check and see and make sure that, alternate rows are going to be blocked off, or that there's going to be something done to help people socially distance. Um, Places where they encourage masks, and places that don't include singing, chanting, or yelling. These are going to be your safest events that will occur during the holidays. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do in these holiday activities that do lower the risk, but still keep all of the fun and all of the activities and all of the socialization of the holiday season. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back over to Paula May for our conclusion, and then we'll take questions after that.
We hope that you have heard lots of good information, things to consider whenever you are planning your Thanksgiving, your Christmas, whatever holiday activity you are doing. But the most important thing is to keep yourself and others safe, no matter what you are doing. Communication is key. Talk to your family members, have them, help them understand the reason why we are having to do this, and hopefully they are understanding and want the same for everyone to keep everybody safe. If you are out anywhere, make sure you are practicing that social distancing. Keep yourself and your family 6 foot apart from others, because we're trying to limit the exposure to this disease. Always wear a mask whenever you are out, especially if it is mandated. You want to make sure that you are keeping yourself and, again, keeping those other people who are at great risk. We want to keep everyone safe. Make sure you wash or sanitize your hands often. because that will help keep, lower the risk, lower the exposure down as well. And then also stay home whenever you're sick, no matter if it's going to work or going to a family function, whatever you're doing, if you are sick, stay at home, because our health, the health of the family members, the health of the community is very important. And we want to make sure that we make it through the holiday season being safe and having fun, spreading that holiday cheer, but keeping it a safe time. And down there at the bottom is the CDC website that we got this information from. Do you all have any questions about any of the information that was presented? We had information on travel, dinners, gift giving, and then the holiday activities.
Thank you, Whitney and Paula. That was great. I know that's been on a lot of our minds, I'm sure, with the holiday season coming up. Does anyone have questions for Whitney or Paula? If you do, you're welcome to ask those, or if you want to type them in chat. If you do want to ask a question, I do want to remind you, you will have to unmute yourself before you ask the question. While they're thinking, I want to tell you, I love the scenarios. I think people don't think about those sometimes, and how easily, I guess, germs can be spread just by touching a piece of candy or a utensil serving. So say very informative, and thanks so much in the chat, ladies. So
Well, I would just like to say thank you, Michelle, for asking me to do this. And I would like to thank Whitney for joining in and helping me out with this. She was a very great helper, had lots of creative ideas for this. So thank you.
All right. Well, I don't see any